Hello.
Hello.
Who are you again?
I'm Liptic. Who the
Oh
fuck are
my
you?
god. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. That was so I hated that.
No,
I'm
I
so
loved
sorry I
it.
put you up to the I'm so
I
sorry.
loved it. No, it's okay.
Oh god. I'm Cap.
Yeah.
And
It
we're
was
coping with caffeine, right?
yes. Yeah.
Are you
Correct.
currently coping with caffeine?
Yes, I
Okay,
have
sick.
uh like a spicy mocha kind of thing.
Ooh,
So,
spicy mocha, yummy.
spicy. What you got?
Um some it's like toasted marshmallow or some shit.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. I
That
don't really
sounds
know
great.
what it is, but it's got marshmallow in it, and that's all that I need and more.
Yeah,
Cause caffeine. Oh my god.
'cause caffeine.
Yes.
Yes.
Um, what are we gonna be talking about today?
Oh boy. Today is kind of a
A
big
bigum,
boy topic.
big boy,
Yeah. A big
a
boy.
big old boy. Sorry.
um, we're going to talk about attachment styles, the big three attachments.
Yes. But I guess like for people that don't know what an attachment style is, do you have any way of describing like what an attachment style is?
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's not something that it's like something set in stone. Like you can have what is it qualities of each category, but it's basically like how you act or receive cues or something, like your level of intimacy, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, in relationships. But and the book that we're going to be talking about today is heavily leans on relationships, but I think that they can be applied to friendships as well.
Yeah, like it's very specific to romantic relationships, but I really do think that like if you are someone that has one of the three attachment styles that they mention in the book, like they are very prevalent not just in your romantic life but also within your like how you communicate with your family and how you communicate with your friends.
Right. Yeah, because I think a lot of when we were talking about this book, we talked about a lot of how we interact with each other.
Hmm.
So,
And I will
yeah.
say, um, attachment styles technically are theory.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
not doctors. We don't know shit.
No,
I read
the
a
only reason we're
book.
talking about this is because of the book.
Yeah, and I fucking loved it because it, you know, um regardless of it being like factual or like there's being a ton of science behind it. I mean, there is science involved, but
Hmm.
I felt very validated in terms of like how I
Yeah.
see myself and where I want to go with my communication and my relationships with people. Um
Yeah, and also giving you like the tools on how to like pick up on what other people are, or at
yeah,
least what they show
100%.
off, and how to better communicate or better work with them or
Yes.
whatever it may be.
So, we're not claiming anything aside from I read book, I like book, we tell you about book
Yes.
because we both read it. I
Yeah.
read it and I was like, oh my god. But first, Sheba read it, which is our
Yes.
friend that
Our
lives in
best friend
Austin.
Sheba.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
um, yes, that's why we're talking about it. Do you want to tell me about the? I feel like we both fall into the anxious attachment style, but the one that's more I guess you have more points in. Do you want to tell people about the what's it called again? Fuck. My brain's blanking. What's it?
Uh, what
There's
the
anxious and there's the
there's
other one.
okay, yeah, so there's anxious,
Avoidance.
there's secure,
Ah.
and there's avoidant. Those
Yeah.
are the top three.
Do you want to tell people about avoidant and I can go into explaining anxious?
Sure, I took notes. Um,
I did not,
so
obviously.
the
I couldn't fucking think of the word.
that's okay. In the book, they kind of give you like a rough like summary on what each attachment style is.
Yeah.
If you want, it's on page 44
Oh
to look
my.
at
Oh
it.
my god. If you follow along.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If
Oh
you happen to have
jeez.
this book, which is called Attached, um, you can also follow along. If not, then just listen to our voices.
Yes.
Um, so avoidant, I'm just gonna read this little snippet of it because I think this explains it much better than I would have. Um, So basically, it is very important for you to maintain your independence and self sufficiency, and you prefer autonomy to intimate relationships. Even though you want to be close to others, you feel uncomfortable with too much closeness and tend to keep your partners at arm's length. You don't spend much time worrying about your romantic relationships or about being rejected. You tend not to open up to partners, and they often complain that you're emotionally distant. In relationships, you are often on high alert for any signs of control or impingement on your territory. So that's kind of what it is. So you kind of like if someone gets too close to you or you feel like your independence is getting taken away or anything like that, you tend to pull away from them to maintain that barrier from them.
And this is why this transitions quite nicely into anxious attachment style. Um, Basically, I don't have exact definitions or pages, but it is an intense fear of rejection and abandonment. That's like largely what it is.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like heavily influenced by those ideas, or at least
Yeah.
that's like kind of what you make up in your head. But basically, they feel like they're unworthy, and so they might perceive certain actions to be a threat to the relationship, and just like the avoidant makes space, the anxious attachment style fears that space because it might mean that they leave. Um,
Right.
so in order to kind of cope with that idea, they act in such a way to repair or feel that closeness that they felt with their partner prior.
Mm-hmm.
But it can show up in a various amount of mannerisms.
Yeah.
Whether it's like constantly calling, or if it's trying to see what their partner is doing all the time. It's like heightened
Yeah.
paranoia, but only about your partner. They can only think about that other person and nothing else. It can affect their work. It can affect their entire life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's just a one of the attachment styles due to however you were raised. If you were raised in an environment in which you experienced like conditional love, I guess. If you did
Yeah.
something, then you received love rather than that like unconditional love that you would normally receive from a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
You might develop one of these two attachment styles, whether it be avoidant or anxious attachment style. And
Or
those
it could
who
be
live,
secure too.
yeah, I was gonna say those who live in a house or a home or an environment in which it's that unconditional love, they will end up with a more secure attachment style. Do you want to tell us about
Yeah.
secure attachment? Those lucky,
Yeah.
lucky
So it's
fuckers.
I know. So it's basically like it's exactly kind of how it sounds. Like you're secure in who you are, you're secure in the romance, and you don't get easily upset over relationship matters. You're good at communicating your needs and feelings to them. Um, you're good at like responding to emotional cues and responding to them. All that good stuff, like you're balanced. It comes naturally to you.
Yeah.
Um, and I think both of us have points in secure,
Yes,
not
we
as much
both
as
had four.
anxious. Um,
Did you write your numbers down?
yes, I did.
What are your
Um,
numbers? We did take a test. We can talk
yeah.
about the test. Do you know what page did you write the page number that's on?
It's before page 44. I did not because it
That's
was multiple
okay.
pages, but it's in the 40s somewhere.
I found it
Um,
already. That's all I needed. Thank you.
beautiful. Yeah. So basically, there's this text test in the book that gives you a bunch of scenarios on how you'd feel, basically like how you react to things or statements or whatever, and you can choose if they apply to you, and you get these points at the end, and you can score different numbers in each section, basically.
Yes.
Um, so I scored my highest is in anxious, obviously. Um,
Obviously. You say
with a
obviously, but we did not expect that, to be honest.
That's fair. That's fair. I got 13 in anxious.
That's wild to
Um,
me.
yeah, I got 4 in secure and 6 in avoidant. So yeah, what are your scores?
I feel like my numbers don't make a whole lot of sense now that I'm thinking about it, but maybe I did math wrong. I went to art school. I'm not going to think about it too much. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Basically, highest score being in the anxious attachment style at 11.
Hmm.
And then my other attachment style being insecure, I only have 4 and I have nothing in avoidant.
Yeah.
It was not applicable to me. I actually hate avoiding things like every capacity because I feel like it just delays the inevitable. But I understand why someone would want that in a particular case. Like, I could see how
Hmm.
that might help them cope. I just don't
Yeah,
indulge in that because I know that I'll have to deal with it eventually.
that's fair. Yeah, I feel like the avoidant points that I got are I was thinking they're very situational. I usually tend to lead more towards anxious once I'm like secure in the relationship, like it's a
Yeah,
thing. But I'm more avoidant at the beginning.
that makes
But
sense.
that's
I think that makes actually a
it
lot of sense.
crosses, yeah. So it but I think also like those are huge for BPD. So I think that there's a little bit of crossover there.
I also just want to say for like a few examples of what this questionnaire asks. Um, because I'm just gonna read some of the questions that we had
Yeah,
to
go for
answer.
it.
Let's see. Sometimes people see me as boring because I create a little drama in relationships. I don't know what that's. It's supposed to be for.
Secure, right?
Yeah, that's for secure
Yeah.
attachment. I hate the feeling that other people depend on me. That is an avoidant tendency or thought on occasion.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. I'm trying to get an anxious attachment example. If
Anything in
someone,
A.
yeah, I know. If someone I've been dating begins to act cold and distant, I'll worry that I've done something wrong.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, I worry that I'm not
Hmm.
attractive enough. A lot of it is like insecurities. I feel like in anxious attachment style.
Yeah.
I often worry that my partner will stop loving me. Another example for avoidant. I'm comfortable sharing my personal, or sorry, that's secure. I'm
That's
looking for
secure.
C. I'm looking for C, and I went
See,
for
yeah,
B
yeah.
section. Holy shit, dog. Let's see. I prefer not to share my innermost feelings with my partner.
Yeah. I
It's like
think that's
like a
one that
fear of
I,
intimacy.
yeah, basically. If it's you're too intimate, then
They're too close,
exactly.
and you could get hurt.
Yeah. So that's one I marked off too, because that's very situational though
Yeah.
at the beginning. Because that's just the
Um.
fear of abandonment.
Yes. Which is interesting to me because when we were both reading this book, we realized, or at least, I mean, I had already known about the attachment styles in some capacity because I had been doing research on them
Yeah,
prior.
I knew them loosely because of you.
Yeah, I love talking about them because I find them extremely interesting. But the main reason why I find them interesting is because of that anxious avoidant like pull and like push, I guess.
Yeah,
So while the anxious attachment style is trying to feel closer to their partner, the avoidant is able to push away but feel secure in the idea that they won't leave because they're clinging. Um, like that type of relationship happens very frequently, and it talks about it in the book.
yeah.
And um,
About a gravitational pull that
yes,
they're more likely to date or seek out each other.
it's like the yin yang, but like in the worst possible case and
Oh
scenario
yeah,
because it's so
yeah,
toxic for both parties.
yeah,
Like the book talks about how like an anxious attachment style should seek out someone that is either anxious as well or secure, but like
yeah,
avoidance anxious attachment styles typically like it's a lot of work to make it happen. I guess if they're both seeking secure in the future, then it can work.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And they talk about that it's like it's not opportune to have that kind of relationship, but
Right.
if you're both working towards a more secure relationship, then it can be okay.
No,
Um,
yeah, I love that this book talks about reaching a secure attachment style.
no, that's great. I love how they're not just like, oh, if you're in an anxious avoidant relationship, like that's just you're done, you
Yeah,
know?
you're fucked.
Like you're fucked. There's no
BT
way to
dubs, your relationship's
reconcile.
over.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that it gives you like things to how to communicate effectively and get what you both need out of it.
I agree. Also, I found it super interesting. It was like early on in the book. I'm trying to see if I can find it. I don't know if you wrote anything of this down, but
So
it
the
was that.
codependency,
What is it?
the codependency.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Tell me about what you wrote down.
Well, just kind of like a little snippet that like so there's a huge thing, at least for both of us, that we've been told, whether we've been told by other people or we just feel this way, that codependency is bad.
Yes.
Being clingy is bad. Um, and you need to learn how to not do that. But this book pretty much says that like, and it backs it up by science. Just gonna say,
Just gonna
um,
say.
just gonna say that it's not necessarily like a bad thing, and it's not something, if you're a clingy type of person, type of love or whatever, it's not something to be ashamed of.
Mm.
And most likely, if someone has told you that you're too clingy or that you're being too codependent, was probably someone who was avoidant and didn't know what to do with it and used
Yeah.
that against you.
Yeah. Well,
Which,
to be
ding,
fair,
ding, ding.
if we wanna play devil's advocate, it's called codependency myth, and it's popularized by society to be like
Yeah,
what should be normal, and so
right.
people think, and will continue to have that idea going into relationships, whether they know their attachment style or not, and think, well, I'm too much, or I shouldn't need that because I should be independent. And
Hmm.
so I'm going to act as such or do certain things because that's how it's supposed to be, because it's a societal norm. Um, but I do think some people, regardless if they know about the attachment styles or not, will definitely take advantage of that societal norm if
Mm.
they feel like, you know, if any of their person is threatened, I could see people using that to their advantage into saying someone else is weaker than, and so
Oh,
that
for sure.
would be like a, well, I'm fine on my own. You seem to have
Yes.
problems to being by yourself, so maybe you should work on that, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. God.
but anyways, the
Wow.
what
Did
I
you take
was
a quote out of my ex's rule book?
I'm so sorry. What? That's what I hope they did not say that. Oh my god.
Oh, they did.
Oh god, I hate that. Um
Yippee!
but you mentioned like it's backed up by science, and like the section in the book is called biological truth, and it just says numerous studies show that once we become attached to someone, the two of us form a I always suck at saying this word, physiological unit.
Physiological,
Thank
yes.
you. I can't say that word.
That's
Our
okay.
partner regulates our blood pressure, our heart rate, our breathing, and the levels of hormones in our blood. So we are no longer a separate entity.
Hmm.
Um, so, and then they talk about a study by James Cone, but it's basically like a hand holding experiment.
Oh, yeah.
They do is it like a shock to someone's finger or like a prick on the finger without their husbands in the
It's
room?
yeah, so it's like an electrical shock. They did a test on this on a woman, I think.
They did a few women.
They did a few, yeah. Like any scientific tests, I guess.
Right, right, right.
Where they did it when she was alone and when the husband was it when the husband was in the room and then he was holding her hand,
There's
or
both. I think they tested several people, and one study was just him in the room, and then the other
got it.
study was while he was holding her hand, and they can actually like see like blood pressure levels. I guess like there's, I'm trying to remember exactly what they were like. Obviously, they can have like a heart rate monitor, that type of thing going on, but they
They
could
had like
literally see the
brain scans and
effect.
stuff.
Oh yes, they could see the effects of like having their significant other in the room and just holding their hand, whatever it might be. Like having that support system nearby was comfort enough for them to endure whatever they were being tested on.
Yeah. Super interesting shit.
Yeah, and they also, I mean, I'm not gonna look in the book for this one, but it's like it goes back to like prehistoric, whatever the fuck, like in terms of
Yeah, evolution.
evolution. You know,
Yeah.
like we work better in packs, and yeah, it's just like the idea that we have such an effect, and that we have that type of like it's hard to explain, like that effect on someone else. It would be only natural in terms of survival to do that. Like I'm going to stick with my unit because I
So
mean
you have
my
to depend on other
yeah, I
in
mean
order
like
to survive.
and I feel better while doing it. So why would
Right.
I fight nature? Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to fucking survive out here. So
Just trying to survive, man.
yeah, like it just and then the fact that we like grew as a society to a point where it's like you know, that's something that's frowned upon almost, or like you should learn to be okay with being by yourself.
Mhm.
That makes me so frustrated.
Yeah, like I understand it's perfectly fine to like feel comfortable in being alone. And that's perfectly great. I
Yeah.
love that for people. That's great. I do not work that way and cannot learn to do that,
Yeah.
you know? Like
Yeah.
it's just I would suffer more if I didn't surround myself with people that I was comfortable with or that I could lean on, you
Yeah.
know?
No, I agree. I just like in terms of codependency and this book, I've been told the entirety of like growing up and just entering adulthood that I need to learn how to do things on my own, and I need to learn all these things about, I guess, like it kind of reminds me of when they talk in the book about the game. If
The
I
game.
seem uninterested, then they'll find me interesting. Or
Oh,
all these other things. Like
yes.
it's a fucking game.
Protest. The protest.
Protest
What is
behavior
it called? Yes,
to a
protest
degree.
behavior.
But it's like one, why would I act like something I'm not? And then two, it's okay to need that other person or feel like you need them, and then like to be told this entire time that like, hey, rely on yourself. I
Yeah.
just find it fucking bogus, and I'm still upset about it. But that's why this book was like super affirming for me, and it also affirmed the idea that anxious attachment style is like if you relieve their anxieties or their insecurities, they can reach a state of secure attachment, or you can just quell like those very intense behaviors, you know?
Yeah, they just need reassurances
Yeah.
and yeah, to know that you're still on their side, whether
Mhm.
you're acting a certain way or you're not, you know?
Yeah, the only reason why they grip harder is cuz they think you're either rejecting them or going somewhere without them, you know, like sayonara,
Mm-hmm.
dude. But like if you were just to say like, "Hey, I'm mad right now. I won't be mad later. We can talk about it later." That would be enough.
Yeah,
That would be completely fine. People can take time to
exactly.
do their own thing, etc., etc. But
You need time to cool down. That's great. I
yes.
just as I just need to know that you were not gonna disappear for a couple of days or leave me forever because of this stupid little fight.
Right.
You know, that type of shit.
Um but yeah, there's just like a lot of affirming ideas in this book, and I really fucking appreciated it in terms of like codependency and anxious attachment style.
Mm-hmm.
Um I guess did you get any affirmations from this book? I feel like we have similar ones if anything.
Oh, the codependency and the clinginess was huge for me. I read that and I was like, oh,
Yeah, like it's okay
fuck.
for me to be clingy.
Yeah.
It's
Like
okay for
even
me to
just like
want that.
what have we've been watching like
Ah,
what's that
a
anime?
sign
The
of
Signs of
affection.
Affection? Oh.
Yes,
And
yes.
he's like it's okay. You can be clingy with
I
me. I'm
fucking
like,
school wheeled. I was like,
dude. Ugh.
but yeah,
That anyone who's not watching that show, watch it if
it's
you want to
so
be in pain
fucking
because
cute.
it's
Oh,
so cute.
sorry, it's so fucking cute. I'm so mad.
Anytime something cute happens, Cap and I just look at each other and we're like,
It's like pure disdain from Liptic, and I start fucking hitting a pillow because I'm just like, I want it, I want
yeah,
it, I want it.
yeah. I'm like,
But
oh, that would be that's nice.
yeah, it's
That would be
sick.
that'd be
That's a
fucking
secure
great.
attachment style.
It is.
He's
Yeah.
secure.
she's more like anxious, and he's like, "Nah, you're
Yeah.
fine. You're
I,
important to me. We're good."
right.
Ugh,
I don't know. It's an interesting
so cute.
dynamic. Um.
Yeah.
Well, I guess like to go more in depth about like our avoidant and our anxious attachment style, there's a few things I wanted to like reference within the book because I thought they
Yeah.
were super interesting and I didn't know like I've never seen a diagram of my spiral until I read
Oh
the book.
my god. I
I was like
I
this
know, dude.
perfectly illustrates exactly my pathing in my brain and how I don't know how they
Yeah.
did that. It's like how'd they get that
How'd they
fucking
do that?
monologue from me? How'd they get that?
Yeah.
Um, but like the attachment system finding your way to the comfort zone is like what I'm referring to.
Mhm.
Did you write anything down for that?
Mm-mm.
Well,
I didn't get that far.
it started with my boyfriend hasn't called today. Is something wrong? If my brain were to see any signs of threats, there is a no option. Oops, I just saw that he left me a message. All is well. So like there's the possibility that like they just didn't see it right away. You know that
Yeah.
that would be if my brain went no. But if I think there's a possibility that something's wrong, the next phase is maybe he's angry with me.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's the activation of attachment system. And if that's
Yeah.
not quelled, it gets stronger. And so it goes on to I'll invite him for a romantic dinner. They're trying to create that space of closeness or feel closer
Mhm.
to their partner. And they think that like if I act in such a way or if I set something up, this is how I can repair that. Seek partners emotional presence. So like it's that anxiety drive.
Mhm.
And then let's say they still aren't messaging back or that still hasn't been quelled, the next step is will he answer or call back? So like if I call him, will he answer? Or is he going to call me
Yeah.
back later? Or but that is again, if nothing is done and is the partner available and are they responsive? But let's say he does, respond or he does call
Mhm.
back, the yes would be he called from a landline. His cell died. Dinner tonight. Yay. Back to work. So that would be in the best case scenario, like some shit happened and they finally get
Yeah.
back to you. But
Right.
if we were to go further down to the no path, this is like
Mhm.
when we start hitting the danger zone. And it's grayed out on this diagram, so it's a very fucking
It's
like
like rock bottom if you're
yeah.
thinking of like an ocean,
I'm thinking like
Like
intensity of
this is the
anxiety.
worst it could be possibly
So
given a situation.
so the if he didn't answer or call back or anything, oh my god, it's been 5 hours now. I left the office. Maybe he's leaving me.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
sounds fucking drastic, but it happens because of the pathing and because you're going down the fucking spiral. You're literally like,
Yeah.
well, holy shit, what the fuck happened? Like we were fine a little bit ago and now I don't hear from them and I didn't get any communication on not hearing from them. So this is weird. And so you're
Yeah.
spiraling and like it seems like when you're going through the motions, it seems like that could be the very case. It sounds so irrational reading it out loud, but
That's what
like it's
happens.
literally like how my brain works. Like
Yeah.
it's like you jump off the fucking bridge. It's jumping to a conclusion that is like so fucking far.
Yeah.
And it's like
So like when you get to that point, do you spam message or spam call or what do you
So
do?
the thing is, I am a spam messenger regardless because that's how I think
Right.
and I just type what I think. In
Mhm.
terms of like when I feel anxious, I feel like I will definitely send a lot more messages, but I've been very wary about like um since I've been learning about the attachment styles, I kind of already knew that I was in that anxious attachment style. I didn't know to this depth about this danger zone and how to cope
Mhm.
better with it, etc., etc. But I've been aware that I know that like that is me telling me that there's something wrong, but there might not actually be anything there. So I
Yeah.
usually try to communicate in terms of like when that happens, I'm like, "Hey, this is how I'm feeling." And I was like, "I know my feelings aren't the truth. If you can tell me the truth, and, help me out here. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm kind of going through it right now. So when you
Hmm.
can, get back to me.
Right.
So it's like relinquishing
Interesting.
control, and I have to really try to think of best case scenario, and I have to think of benefit of the doubt, and a bunch of other stuff if they haven't messaged back or if they haven't done whatever it is that I need them to do. I just like it's like a level of patience with yourself and that person,
Yeah.
because life happens.
Right.
So I think since I'm more aware of it, it's been easier to communicate when I'm spiraling, but that doesn't mean the spiral stops. The spiral
Right.
only stops when they get back to me.
Yeah.
But I tried to
Exactly.
tell them that I'm running through it. Like
Yeah.
these are what I mean. I won't go into depth to what I'm thinking, but like I'll tell them the larger concerns. Like I'm really anxious right now, and that I hope that we are okay, and
Hmm.
I hope to hear from you soon because I have an irrational fear of people leaving. I say
Wow.
irrational, but it's very common. Um,
Yeah.
but it's irrational in the case of like if you've been talking to a person for a while and it's like they haven't left yet, why would they do it now? You know?
But bro, people can leave at
Oh,
any point.
yeah, of course.
So,
But if I try to give them that benefit of the doubt that they care about me and that they want me in their life, I shouldn't think that case and scenario all the time.
I see.
It shouldn't be like I should always hope for the best. If things don't work out, then so be it. But I shouldn't be
Hmm.
saying goodbye every single time like someone isn't available.
Right.
But there, it's funny.
Hmm.
There's more to the danger zone.
Oh.
So imagine, I only
Oh,
I
I'm
only said
imagining.
one. There's
Oh
two
God.
more.
Okay. Okay.
Imagine this
Go
person
off.
does not get a call, does not hear from their significant other. The next bubble is no sign of him. His assistant is dismissive. Will I ever hear from him again? So they went to the point of going to somebody else to ask about this person, their significant other.
Yeah.
And the next bubble, I can't believe this. We if we break up, I'll never find someone else like him.
Okay. That's huge for anxious attachment for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Um.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's one of the they even talk about it earlier I think, or somewhere around whatever, activation strategies kind
Oh
of
my
thing.
god.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
called, it's, where is it? I wrote it down.
Yeah, tell me the page. I'll follow
Believing,
along.
okay, page 81.
Oh, thank you.
It lists out all of the activation strategies. Um and there's a bullet point in there that says believing this is your only chance for love, as in I'm only compatible with very few people. What are the chances I'll find another person like them? Or it takes years to meet someone new, I'll end up alone.
I feel like a
So,
lot of people fall into that.
yeah, yeah, I do every time, even though, like, pre relationship me and post relationship me realizes that that's not true. Like, there's plenty of other people, there's plenty of other opportunities that you can have. But once I'm in the relationship, it's like, this is the end all be all. I only want them. Anything else is not the same. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Right.
Yeah, I kind of agree because I'm the same way. When I say I have commitment issues, I have commitment issues with letting go, and like the commitment is the issue part, I guess. It's not necessarily that I fear commitment. I get way too fucking invested. Like I put
Interesting.
everything in.
Do you get invested like early on?
No.
Because I think, okay, when I'm first talking to someone, that's when the avoidant part comes in before I get anxious. So instead of thinking this is the only person for me type stuff, it's like, there'll be other opportunities. I don't want to get too close right now, so I'm not going to.
Interesting. I never think
Yeah.
about having other opportunities. I think when it's before, or if I'm by myself for a while, I'm more secure in myself. And I'm like, if someone wants to make time for me, cool. If they don't want to make time for me, that's fine. I'll just kind of continue to vibe, continue to do what I'm doing. And I don't necessarily push away though when someone
Oh,
enters my life. If they show me that like if they reciprocate in such a way where I see that there's potential, then you know, I'm very direct, so I will ask them
hmm
if that's something that they seek or if that's something they want. And if we both agree, then I will jump into probably a more anxious attachment style. Obviously, there's a lot of things that can influence it. I think that's why I have points in both. Um, and I realized during times of conflict, I am more secure attachment style. And every other time, I am anxious attachment style.
right.
Because I
Yeah.
I go into like either fix it or quell mode when there's conflict,
Yeah.
and that can only really be done with secure attachment. If I start to, because I do feel the anxious attachment in terms of conflict, but if I let it win, I'll either make things worse or um, it's like a lot more recovery, so it's just like counterproductive. And
I
I,
see.
I can feel it when I'm becoming either like leaning into my anxious attachment style or like when I'm letting it win a little bit. I can feel it when
hmm
it happens. I don't know if you notice it when there's like a switch because you have all
Oh,
three.
look, for me, I was
Yeah.
gonna say I flop between all three.
Yeah. Do you
So
feel
if
the
it's
transition between them?
yeah, so it depends largely on how I'm feeling before the like the conflict or the fuck. What is it? Confrontation. That's what I'm looking for. Um, so if I'm feeling super anxious, I'll probably act pretty anxious, and then afterwards I'll be like, "Yo, dog, I'm sorry. That was a lot, and I understand that was a lot. So whatever." And then, so basically, it starts off with me feeling anxious or avoidant.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm like upset or angry, I need to walk away for a little bit, like
Yeah.
15 minutes to an hour, depending on how long it takes me to get back into a regular thought process.
Yeah.
So when there's emotions involved, it's very heightened for anxious or avoidant, but once I cool down, I'm more secure and able to talk about it.
That makes sense. I do
Yeah.
think taking time away, as much as that is like an avoidant tendency, I guess it depends on how much that cool down time is.
Yeah,
I
if
do
it's like a
understand
couple
needing a
days,
reset.
that would be bad.
Yes. That would be
But
very much like I really don't want to fucking deal with this. But if it's
yeah,
like a few hours or like hypothetically it happens at night and you want to wait till morning, that's okay. I especially recommend it if you're having what was that fucking tweet? Anything after 9 p.m. like don't make any decisions after
oh
9 p.m.
yeah.
Don't fucking do it. And
No,
like
it's danger zone. Yeah.
especially like if you're having an argument at night, I don't know what in our heads makes it fucking the worst experience ever, but don't agree to anything in terms of like separating or whatever it might be. Wait till morning and see if you still feel that way.
Yeah.
Cuz like all decision making after 9 p.m. is just ass.
Yeah.
But sorry, do you want to continue? Did you have anything else in terms of like feeling the switch between all the attachment styles? Because I find it really interesting that you could either feel anxious avoidant and then
So you
secure, but
well, do you
like,
want to know something funny?
huh?
Sometimes most of the time I feel anxious and avoidant at the same time.
I hate that for you.
So, yeah. So
That
so even
sucks.
before this book, I did a lot of research about anxious and avoidant type attachments, and you can be both, which is like you have the worst of both worlds pretty
Because you
much.
have that anxiety of like, please don't leave, and then it's
Please
like,
don't leave, but I won't bring it up,
right,
you know.
or I'll
So
push you
that's
away
exactly.
because I'm
So I can
scared.
uh-huh. Yes. I'm anxious that you'll leave. So
Make it easy for you,
so
like,
exactly. No, that's
like
exactly what it
that's so
is.
bad. It's so
Yeah,
bad.
even though like I don't want you to leave, but if I get the inkling that you want to, I might push you away on purpose so it makes it easier
Well,
for
then
me
you
to
can say
deal
you
with.
did it.
Yeah, exactly. It's
You're
about
back in
having that
control.
control.
Yeah.
which is huge for avoidant and being in that control.
Yeah, it's
Um,
because you guys strive for that independence, right?
yeah, but I don't, I don't like being independent.
I
I'm
don't. I don't.
very clingy, so I sometimes get avoidant because I'm anxious. If that it makes zero sense
No, it.
really on
I
how it
feel like it
works, but
does. It's like if they cared enough, they would pull back.
exactly.
So like they wouldn't let me get away if they actually cared. But it's almost like testing them, but maybe not in the most healthy of situations because
Yeah, I
it
don't
can
really do
be
it
interpreted many ways.
on purpose.
Oh no, of
Like I
course not.
don't I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to test them. I'm going to pull away and see what they
Right.
do." It's more
Yes.
so like, "Oh, I think that they want to pull away without because like their behaviors have shifted for a little bit and all this stuff. Even if I know that they're dealing with stuff, I'll pull away and then be like, "Oh, they'll get back to me when they want to," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and if they just kind of jump off the face of the earth because I pull away, then like they're not putting in as much as I'm putting in, so it's not
Yeah.
worth it, kind of thing.
I will say I like while reading this book, like I never I guess banked on the idea that the avoidance did it on purpose. I feel like a lot of people do
No.
what they do without realizing what they're doing. So even like in your case where you feel that anxiety to a point where you push,
Hmm.
I never would think that someone is doing that intentionally. It's just like a mechanic or some sort of again coping mechanism that they learned and has
Yeah.
saved them, helped them in very particular cases, which is why it's showing up now, even though this is a different case and scenario. Never think of, well, they're doing this maliciously. I
Yeah.
think people do things without realizing what they're doing all the time.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone yesterday,
Hmm.
and they were like, people are stupid.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah,
People
people
fucking
are fucking
suck.
idiots. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm also dumb. And
Of same. Yeah.
like I don't know, I let my emotions dictate some things when they shouldn't, and I act in certain ways because of my emotions, and I should have more control of that, but you know, I'm human and it sucks.
Hmm.
Sometimes I fuck up. But regardless of the fact, like I think acknowledging the idea that, you know, people will do things without realizing that they're doing them, and it's just it so happens to be a part of like whatever our nature is. It
Yeah.
sucks. We're idiots. We're all dumb at some
Yeah.
point. It doesn't happen all the time, which is good, but you know, when it does, make sure to give yourself some grace. I think I forget that. I forget to
Right.
do that when I fuck up. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, shit, dude. Like, I should know better by now, you know?
Hmm.
Um, so, yeah. No, I found that interesting and kind of relevant because I still really do think that I make silly decisions. I think other people make silly decisions, and we're all just trying to fucking figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Do you have anything else in your notes, or is there anything else you wanted to reference? Because this conversation started with the activating strategies. I like the
Yeah.
one, all couples have problems. We're not special in that regard in terms of activating strategies because I think that is, like, it's not just like a particular person that will think that. I feel like in terms of like, if we did like a percentage of like how many people think that, it'd be super fucking high, the mass majority.
Yeah. So the bullet point that um starts with is like believing that even though you're unhappy, you'd better not let go.
Yes.
So, and they give other explanations or examples like if they leave me, they'll turn into a great partner for someone else or they can change, all those types of thoughts. Yeah, I get hmm, I get stuck in that thought process,
Yeah.
I guess, of like first of all, anyone can change, whether
I was
it
just
just
gonna
depends on
say,
if they want to or not,
right.
and trusting that they want to work together for the relationship. that's
Yes.
different. If you believe that they can change and they're not doing anything to change it and you still believe that, that's when it turns into a problem.
That's when it's an issue. I agree.
Yes. Um and I've been I've done that. I've definitely believed in the, oh, like this is just a rough patch for us right now,
Yeah.
but you know, it'll get better at some point. Or yeah, they've been pulling away for the last couple of months, but maybe next month they won't, or the month after that,
Oof.
or whatever.
Yeah. I
And
felt
then it
that,
turns
dude.
into a long time. And then
Yeah.
they're like, hey, I've been checked out for a month. We should not see each other anymore. I'm like, sick. Sick dog. Nice.
Nice. Sorry.
Nice.
Fucking
Nice try,
okay.
nice.
Like when I say I have commitment issues, my first relationship was 1 year. My second relationship was 2. My
Hmm.
third, 2 years, and then my last one was 4. And I don't even know if I
Yeah.
count that one because that one wasn't, solidified.
Yeah, it
Um,
was just a super fucking long situationship.
which is fucking ridiculous. They were just making
That's,
that word. I feel like
yeah.
when I had that issue, I was like, wow, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Thank
No,
you,
it's
COVID.
bogus.
So,
Yeah, honestly.
um,
Yeah.
regardless, um, like,
Mine were both about like a year and a half.
yeah, I fucking full send, and I'll be stuck in a state of this could get better, or maybe I just need to work with them or be more patient in terms of like making this work. But I
Yeah,
guess the
I'm
book,
asking for too much.
yeah.
Or, all
Oh
that
my
shit.
god. I guess like the book talks about like realizing like your needs and are they being met. If that person doesn't meet those needs, then you should seek other people. And
Yeah.
we both get stuck at a point where we're like, well, they could meet our needs potentially. They're not meeting them right now, but maybe later. But unless
Or,
you have that conversation with that partner, like things probably won't change.
right. Or the real ring dinger, if they were meeting your needs before
Oh
and then they
God.
stopped. And you're like,
Ah.
well, they have met these needs before. I just need to give them time to meet those needs again,
That's
you
yeah.
know? Which is why I see a lot of the 90-day rule. You ever heard of
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Where it's like, if you like have fun, like don't commit to anything, like that's the time to like talk about what you need in relationships, or what you how you act, or what you need from your partner, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if they're like, yeah, like we can do all this stuff, and then after 3 months they're like, that's when they get comfortable. They don't need to be on all the time. And if they don't meet those needs, then you shouldn't sign you shouldn't sign up for it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a test grounds.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people talk about honeymoon phase, but in that case
Yeah.
that would be a longer period of time. I think 90 days is
Yes.
pretty good, but there are some cases where it doesn't happen until a year later.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard a lot of theories about like the first year is always the like the easiest, because that's
yeah.
when like the honeymoon phase kind of happens, and then
Yes.
once it starts getting into the second year, like that is the hard year for a lot of people.
Yeah. Especially in terms of like marriage and commitment
Oh
to
yeah.
that capacity, like
Yeah.
it's basically I mean, it's not for life because obviously there are ways out, but
Hmm.
the idea and sentiment is that that is it.
Yeah,
So
it's an
like,
extra level of commitment,
yeah.
and it's huge. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Sorry, I just really wanted to see if there was a percentage that we could look at in terms of like within the first 2 years of marriage, roughly 10% of people will divorce. Most marriages will
Oh,
fail within those first 2 years because of that reason. 11,000 divorce
interesting.
cases. Researchers concluded that, I mean, men are more likely to cheat on their wives during this stage of the marriage, leading to a spike in infidelity divorces. So I guess there's
Oh,
even statistics on very specific divorces. But
interesting.
I find that interesting in terms of like, hold on one second. Researchers estimate 41% of all first marriages end in divorce.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I'm pretty sure I read
Second
somewhere recently
marriages,
that
Oh
Like the
god.
divorce rate has gone up to 50%.
That's wild. Second marriages
Yeah.
that end in divorce is roughly 9%, which is I would say a better statistic. And I just saw the article that you're talking about. It looks like in terms of recent data, that would be the most recent article. A
I
year
see.
ago it was 41%, which is still fucking ridiculous and really
And it's
high.
gone up
That's
since then.
insane.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And like if you have that fear of intimacy or that fear of commitment, I just don't understand the idea of putting someone through it and then like, calling it quits after. And maybe
I
that is
mean,
a avoidant attachment, or maybe that is just like maybe it's just a poor matchup. Like hypothetically, if an avoidant and an avoidant were to marry, like they
I
tried to make it work and
yikes.
then
Yeah.
realized, holy fucking shit, we do not work.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, even in the book, like they give this huge like life story of someone who came
Oh my
in about
god.
like marrying someone. She was an anxious avoid like an anxious person herself, and then the other person was like textbook avoidant.
Well, they had
And
described her as almost she was a mixture of both anxious and secure, and but she showed more signs of secure early, but like fell
and
into
then
tendencies of
devolved
anxiety.
into
Yeah.
yeah, and then kind of like not like manipulated him, but just like pushed him to get married, and then like they ended up divorcing at a certain point
Yeah,
because
because they never
she
worked towards
she
being
kept
secure.
wanting to say I want a divorce, I need to get out, all this stuff, and then he would
He would
um
prepare.
basically yeah, he would basically be like, you don't really want that, all this stuff. And then well, it basically like she finally got out and was able to find a secure relationship, like and get married
Yeah.
actually like healthily. But yeah, I mean they give
Um
a shit ton of examples and studies in this book.
I really liked that story, not liked, but um like
Appreciated.
yeah, cuz it
Yeah.
basically was saying that like as soon as she would start realizing like this is like the worst and I can't
Yeah.
take it anymore, um in terms of like her needs, he met the physical needs, like he would hug her and like comfort her to a point where she would reach like, hey, like maybe this isn't so bad. Like the
Yeah.
avoidant will stop pushing when they're also being pulled away from, because they don't want that person to leave. That's why they're acting like that,
Yeah.
because they think like, well, if they want me they'll come get me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they realize at that point this person isn't going to come to get me, so I need to, you know put
Which
up.
is awful.
It
You
is.
should not get to the point
It
of
is.
pushing so far away to the
It's
point
really
of the other
bad.
person being like, okay, well, maybe this isn't good for us. And they'll be like, no, 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 no. We can be better. Blah, blah, blah. And it's just like this emotional roller coaster of bullshit.
Yeah. I will say that like it's definitely not the most healthy like pattern until people like realize what the hell's going on, and if they're willing to work towards something that actually is better, then it's okay. But if they just
Yeah.
continue the cycles
Yeah.
because of that gravitational pull, that's when it's just like it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
um
There's no, it's like that whole idea of like they can change.
yeah.
And, but it's only safe to think that if they're showing like that they want to change or their actions are different than their words,
Yeah,
then
I
that's
would
not
agree.
good. Like
um I just think like the story, I like that they include the aspects of like what kept her,
yeah,
because I could see
it's
that.
hard for anxious people to leave.
Yeah, that would be a thing where I would could put myself in her shoes and I'd be like, yeah, that would bring me back. That would
Yeah,
work. And then
even if it would be better to separate.
yeah, well at that point you're thinking like in terms of like protest behavior,
Hmm.
like it's almost conditioning to a sense in my brain.
Yeah,
Well, if I get to this point, he's always gonna, come back to me.
yeah,
Like I don't have to actually worry too much because we're already at the worst, and if he's still coming back, then like he won't leave.
yeah.
So it's still that like that gravitational pull. They start to feel that closeness that they've been looking for, but then, obviously the avoidant isn't totally satisfied at some point, and so they'll begin to push away again.
Yeah.
They'll feel that closeness too, and they'll be like, "Oh shit." Never mind, just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
So that's
Once the
why it's
anxious
super
person
fucking
starts,
toxic.
yeah, because once the anxious person can feel very secure in that level of intimacy, avoidance gets scared
Yeah,
of their independence being taken away,
which is
and
so,
so they
so
pull away.
I've never understand the idea of independence being taken away in terms of like being in a relationship. I guess like
Yeah.
yeah, you maybe might not be able to do everything you want to do, aka it's just you and that person and no one else. But like in terms of like work life, everything else, friends, like that doesn't change. Like your independence as a person,
It
you are
shouldn't
still
change.
an individual. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, your partner, regardless of attachment style, should support you in your growth and your happiness with your friends and
Absolutely.
family or whatever you want in life, and should be there to support you in that regard, and you should support them back.
And there
If
should
it
be
gets
no isolation on
no,
either part.
absolutely
There
not.
should be no that would be where it's like
That's when it gets
codependency,
toxic.
but
Yeah.
like to a point where it's they're all I have.
Yeah, which is not true.
Yes, and not good.
Um,
So you don't want to get to that point
right.
where that
Yeah.
is the case. Because I mean, I've heard of people cutting people off because of a significant other being a little bit more controlling or like having a fear of something happening while they're out, etc., etc. So they slowly and surely just start to isolate without realizing that they're doing it to themselves, and the other person who knows what their that mentality is. I mean, it's a bad road to fall under. I don't blame either side because I understand that there are certain things that happen to people and that just kind of it'll shape them and how they deal with stuff
Yeah.
later on. So it's just being cautious of that and
hmm I've
the and
gotten lost in that cycle before, and
it
it
sucks.
sucks.
And
Yep.
I
Because
just
you basically exist in a space for the other person to come to whenever they want, and you don't
yes.
get the same access to them. And
Yes.
while they get to have all their friends and their family, well, they belittle you about your friendship choices or your siblings or whatever.
Mhm.
It's very bad. It's not a good place to live in.
Yeah, it almost feels like a power dynamic. Like I'm better, so like this is what I get, and you're not, so this is what you get.
Yeah.
Which is fucking ridiculous. And again, I don't understand the mentality behind it. And I'm not trying to say that I do, but it can get to that point, and just being like aware of like your own attachments, your own needs, and realizing whether or not a person is able to meet those is super fucking important. And that's why I loved reading this book. There was another part of the book that I really wanted to talk about that I'm trying to remember in terms of like topics.
hmm
It had something to do with the codependency as well.
hmm
Huh. I guess, do you have any more notes? Because I think we referred back to your notes to see if there was anything else, and then we started talking more.
Is it later in the book?
I think it is later. I'm trying to
Uh,
remember. There was something else that I found super fucking interesting.
I notes wise didn't get very far.
That's okay.
Um,
There's a lot
I
of
guess
diagrams in this book that we could talk
there
about
are.
that are super helpful.
Were there like specific points that you wanted to bring up, or at
I think
least
there was
discuss?
one, but my brain's not working.
That's
If I
okay.
remember at some point down the line, I'll bring it up. But I would
Yeah.
like to talk about some of the I guess like workshop pages that they have in here.
hmm
They do a relationship inventory that I think is really fucking cool. And
Yeah.
this is something you can do at any stage, because it usually will refer to your previous relationship, You can also use the diagram for your current. And I like that it also helps to try to navigate certain conversations, and I'll find that diagram in a second. But for
Oh shit. Yeah,
relationship
that's good.
inventory, they'll do name of partner, and then the next category being what is slash was the relationship like. What reoccurrent patterns can you recall? Next section, situation that triggered activation or deactivation attachment system. So when we are anxious attachment style, we get activated, and
Hmm.
avoidance get deactivated in
Yeah.
those types of situations. So I guess regarding to that partner's attachment style, what triggered that? And then the next category, my reaction, thoughts, feelings, actions. And then it talks about insecure attachment working models and principles. So I
Hmm.
guess for that example, or at least to clarify, because I do think they talk about how the chart is filled out. I'm trying to see where the example is, because I remember that being kind of confusing for me at first. Do you understand the insecure attachment working models and principles? Like is it telling us to write down like what would be the wrong things to give into?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure that I understood.
Like, so for like anxious would be like the protest behavior or the activating
I
behaviors, and
see.
then the avoidance would be the deactivating type of things, like pulling away.
Oh, you know
So
what? You're fucking right. That's literally the page before. What attachment issues underlie your reaction to protest behavior? Deactivation? Refer to the list as a
yep.
guide. Yeah.
Hmm.
um,
Yep.
the next category six, how I lose out by succumbing to these working models and principles. So I think that's when I told you about that feeling that I get when I can almost feel when I'm leaning into my anxious attachment style, and I know that that's not good, and that I need
Yeah.
to revert back, or I need to take a second to reevaluate.
Hmm.
So like, what would happen if you didn't do what you would normally do in terms of like avoidant and anxious attachment style? So what do you lose out on? And then seven, the last category, identify a secure role model who is relevant in the situation and secure principles to adopt. How are they relevant? So like having an example of someone that is secure in your life, or an example of a secure relationship, and using that as a
Hmm.
model for your current situation or the situation that you put in this diagram,
It
and
also
seeing how they
says
would
that you
manage
could,
it.
yeah, like how you could ask them how they would
Yeah.
handle the situation or whatever. It's kind of like getting an unbiased opinion.
Yeah, I fucking love that because when I started like using that diagram,
Hmm.
I again thought of us, and then I thought of
Yeah.
my aunt Carmen and Alex, and I was like, if they were put in this situation and like had these things occur, I mean, I could directly ask them, and that would be cool. But like, I can actually see like what would be the secure attachment approach, I guess,
Yeah.
and it's
I
hard to see
definitely
it.
Yeah, I definitely like either for that section, I either talk to you about it, like what would you handle, how would you handle the situation that I'm in, or what should I do?
Mm-hmm.
Or I would either ask my dad or think about what he would probably do in this situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we both have, it's good to have like a secure role model in your life, whether it be someone personal or like a therapist or whoever it may be.
I definitely agree. Like that third party system that has no bias, or I guess necessarily like they're not inclined to any position.
Yeah, like you
I
want the best for both of you kind of
Yeah,
thing.
they just want it to work,
Yeah.
whatever it might be, or they just want to help you with your problem. I just I think it's really helpful, and that's again like in standard relationships, like romantic relationships, and like friendship and family. Like if you need a
Yeah.
fucking mediator, get a mediator. They're great
Mhm.
because they'll keep things fucking from going insane, or it'll help gain insight, perspective, whatever it is that like the conflict is over. There are just things that two parties want, and a lot of the is like they're just fighting to be understood.
Yeah,
So like that third party
exactly.
will help with that, and I find that fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very easy to misunderstand people when there's a lot of elevated emotions.
oh,
So having
100%.
someone else be able to, I guess, give you an example of like for instance, you'll come to me and be like, "Am I being crazy or am I overreacting or all of this stuff?" And I'll be like, "No, I don't think you're being too much. I think this person could have meant it this way." And
Right. You rephrase
whatever
it
it
in
may
such a
be.
way that makes it like there are other possibilities we don't necessarily know
Right.
until we talk to that person, you know?
Yeah.
Which is super fucking helpful. That's how I don't reach my danger zone. Thank
You
you.
check in with, yeah, of course,
Oh my
anytime.
god. It saved me so many times cuz like I do fall into that pattern and I know when it's happening. Do I
Yeah.
stop it? No. I don't really know how yet on my own.
I
And so
mean,
relying on
even just
somebody
reaching
else.
out is like trying to stop it, you know,
Yeah, I would say so.
or at least
Um,
being like realizing that like you are going down that rabbit hole and being like, hey, before I get too far, I need your help, you
yeah,
know,
but
to know
again,
if this is valid or not.
it's a difficult thing to distinguish whether or not like sometimes I know I'm being silly, but I just need someone to tell me I'm being silly.
Yeah.
Like I just need to hear it. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's hard to gauge for some people in terms of like it's like when you told me earlier I feel like I have difficulty telling people when I need something.
Yes, I have issues reaching out for support, and a lot of the times I don't really need, or I don't really know what I need
Right,
until it's gone, or until I realize,
that you need
and
it.
then not, yeah, and then I'm still not able to ask for it
So,
because I get in my head about it.
it's like it's the same pathing, I guess, in terms of like reaching that danger zone and being on like the precipice of it, like right before entering. It's really
Yeah.
hard to distinguish whether or not, um, I guess like in this case, this would be where I don't feel the anxious attachment style. Like I can usually feel it transition between anxious to secure, but this is where I wouldn't notice it, and it could either go one or two ways.
Wait, what do you mean about noticing it? Like for me, with me?
No, like I feel it in my chest when I
Oh,
am leaning into my anxious attachment
understood.
style. I can feel
Okay,
it, like legitimately
gotcha.
physically feel.
Yes, yeah, I
And
was feeling that
yeah.
today. Yeah,
Yeah, and like if I let it win, there's only certain cases and scenarios where it can go undetected. And that would be like a
yeah,
very specific case where I like reaching out me whether I know it or not. If I'm unsure, I would it would go undetected and I could potentially just go into it, I guess.
yeah.
So I
I guess
don't
that would,
blame you for that. I think it's really hard to see it.
yeah, that's another. Even if I do, like I told you earlier, that I realized that I did need support or I wanted it, and then I still didn't really do anything about it
Yeah.
or didn't tell you about it until I was, or until you asked about it, honestly. So I was like, oh yeah, you know what? There is something I'm thinking about.
Cuz I just ask what are you
Yeah,
thinking a lot to everyone.
yeah.
Well, cuz I sometimes see people like thinking and I don't think they
Mm-hmm.
realize that I'm looking. And if I
No, I
see
did
your
not.
eyes darting around, I
Yeah.
thought something was wrong with the flowers. I was like, I know I should probably
I
throw
know
them
you looked at
out.
the flowers and I was like, no,
I know I
that's
should
not what
toss
it is.
them. um, but
No.
I really like them, so that's why they're still there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I saw your eyes darting, and I was like, I wonder what they're thinking. It's never in terms of like, um, I hope you know that. Like, I don't go into asking that question thinking you're actually thinking of something. Sometimes people just
Mm-hmm.
have a lot going on, and there's a lot in there, and they can't decipher what exactly, and so some people just be like, I don't know. So I didn't know if it was going
Well,
to be that or if it was going to be something specific. I don't have that type of intuition.
a lot of the times when you ask me like what I'm thinking, when my eyes dart like that, I'm debating if I should even bring it up.
Absolutely,
So
always.
I know,
I know.
but the fear of the the vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
type shit once again. Um, Even if it's with you, like someone who I'm very secure in and comfortable with, and all this other shit, like bringing up something that I possibly need from them is still difficult.
No, I could see that 100%. And I guess like
So
if you care about something enough to a point where you're like, well, I don't want them to think that because this happened that it messes anything up, and I could see that being like a I don't want this to flag a like alarm, but I want to communicate it to this person because I need to be
yeah,
better with it, or I need help with it, or whatever it might be. Like I just want to talk about it. I
yeah,
definitely think that might be the issue in terms of it's also the fear of vulnerability, but like I think you care a lot, and if I'm doing my own thing, sometimes it's hard to interject in that because you just want me to do my own thing.
yes, that
And
is
I
exactly
I
what
I
it
get
is.
that 100%.
Like I don't
I
want anything
hope.
to change, and
Yeah,
just
and it won't.
yeah,
I can say that, but I'll show you. So again, if that ever happens, I know I can say it as many times possible and it'll still give you that feeling, but if you need something, I'm always here. And if you're not
yeah.
sure, go in my room. Just go in there. That's what I do. I go in your
Okay,
room and I sit on your bed if I'm not sure.
true,
And if
but
everything's okay, I walk away. And you can do the same thing.
okay,
I know it's so much easier just to say it, but then once it happens or do it, like it's you'll probably still debate and you'll probably still feel it. But if you do it enough times, like how I've done it, it's I don't even think about it anymore. Sometimes I end up in your room and I don't know how I got there.
oh,
Yes.
okay,
It's like muscle movement. Like
yeah,
I'm like there and I'm like, "Oh shit, what the fuck?" I was like,
that's
"Was I
fair.
not feeling okay or
Yeah,
what the fuck?"
I also like don't go into your room in case like I don't know you're doing something
Nah,
that's important
they
or you're
can
talking about
suck it.
something important, and
Oh,
I'm
well.
just like,
If
mm, maybe I should not. You know,
that ever is the case,
I put you ahead of myself all of the time.
that's an issue me and you both have. Honestly,
Yeah.
wholeheartedly, that is we both struggle with that.
Yeah.
Even if I'm like in the middle of something, like you can just sit in here if that makes it feel better.
Well, a lot of the
Sometimes,
times
oh,
it's like I know you're going through something,
fuck it.
and I'll want to support but not want to intrude, you know? So I don't know if at that point I'm being selfish
I
because I
see.
want to support and you don't necessarily need that at that point.
Well, I think that in that case,
Hmm.
you should still do whatever it is that you want to do. Because I think you know how like we talked about love languages, how we show it and then how we receive it. I
Hmm.
think you're thinking of like how you would want it, so you don't
Yeah.
go near that person because they might not want whatever it is. In my case, I don't feel that need to separate ever.
Hmm.
I'm again, we did our scores, we did our testing. I'm not avoidant by any means.
Yeah.
And like in terms of like vulnerability, I am not scared to cry in front of people. It sucks. I don't like crying in front of people, so sometimes I hold it back, but it's more of a like I don't want this person to have to deal with it. But when it comes to you, like you've seen me cry enough. I've ugly cried in front of you. We're
Yeah,
fucking we're
I
at that
know.
point. So, I don't
Yeah.
if you ever feel that again, like just go in, do what you want to do. If you don't want to, you can do whatever you want. And
Yeah.
I can always tell you like my needs at that point cuz I have that fear of vulnerability. I feel like I try my best to communicate what it is that I need in
Yeah, I feel like
those
most times
cases.
I'll come check on you and be like, you'll tell me, I'll tell you later, or
I'll
whatever it
apologize
may be.
profusely, but I do say what I need usually,
Yeah.
and you
A
do
lot
really
of the
well with
times
that.
it's when you're like overwhelmed or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to add another thing or person for you to talk to
Well,
and tell that, like, hey, I'm overwhelmed. Like, I'll talk to you about it later or whatever, you know?
again, I
So I
was
just assume that you'll come to me when you're ready.
yeah. In terms of like talking to like a lot of different type of people, recently, and
Yeah.
holy shit. Basically, like I heard one thing from someone, and it was like the best form of support can sometimes just be being there. So if
Hmm.
that is if that helps you too, and you just want to be there, do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. But also,
Okay.
um, I don't want you to have to worry about the additional factors of like how I prefer to be comforted because I will communicate those to you.
Okay. So if you're having a really serious conversation, I could just walk in and sit under your bed,
Yeah.
and you won't feel like I'm hovering.
No, I only worry that you'll be confused. That's my only worry usually. And I'm like,
No, I usually don't really care about that because I figured if you want to tell me, you will, or
oh
I'll
yeah,
at
I
least
usually will
ask
explain.
you.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times, like recently, someone asked me to support you, and I was like, well, yeah, I just don't know if you want that. So in
well,
this moment.
no, that's
And I was
fair.
like, nah, yeah, so
Absolutely fair. But yeah, no,
you
if
feel it
you
out.
just want to sit in here because that's how you feel like you can support in a way that you know, is good for me as well, like that is totally fine. And I only ever worry that the conversations are confusing or that you'll feel excluded. That's like my primary. I get this is our issue is like the putting the other person before
Yeah.
ourselves. And so even if I'm going through all whatever the fuck, I'm still like, damn, like I don't want them to feel like I'm talking to somebody else first or some shit. When I would normally go to them first, you know,
Hmm.
it's like that level of exclusion, and then like I don't want you to think that I don't care anymore because I'm talking to whoever it might be, you know.
Okay. Well, here's
That's
the
usually
thing.
my fear.
I understand. I understand. Here's the thing. I'm don't I'm so happy if you have other people to talk to about stuff. That's great. Um I'm also very secure in that if you wanted to talk to me about it or if I could help you in some way, you would tell me about it
Yeah, and
at
I
some point.
always do.
Yeah. So I can be super patient in that
Okay.
moment and won't jump to conclusions if I'm hearing stuff.
Yeah.
I usually just assume that it'll get cleared up later if you want to clear it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really care about that aspect.
See, guys, this is secure attachment. We're going back to our topic because I know that we've gone very far from it. But
Well,
in
this is a
terms,
good example of two anxious people
yes.
interacting with each other
Oh,
and
100%.
being very anxious for each other. And
Yeah.
so yeah,
No,
it can,
100%.
as long as you talk about it, like it can be, you guys can reach a good point.
Well, it's just like I love progression, and
Hmm.
in terms of like figuring out or working through something, I'm always willing to put in that work. It's just more about whether or not that other person is willing to do that, and you've met me at my level, and so I never
Yeah.
worry about that kind of thing. But that
Hmm.
isn't the case for a lot of people, and how they
Yeah.
communicate and how they deal with situations, whatever it might be. So
Hmm.
I guess like in terms of like reading the book and how much we've talked about it and how much it's helped, the diagrams are super informative and really easy to run through. We are not sponsored, but I do advocate for this book because of
Yeah.
the fact that it was just like super enlightening, and I feel like I have that goal now of reaching like a secure attachment. I want to be that way.
Yeah, me too.
Um, so yeah, I think we'll
Yeah.
get there. I think we can. It's just a lot of it is developed in early stages of childhood development. So
Hmm.
if you become frustrated with the idea that like, oh, I'm not where I want to be, I think just like little steps in the right direction are better than staying stagnant. So
Yeah, just take it day by day.
yeah, I
Have a
think
big goal,
I
but
don't. I'm not very patient with myself in that regard in terms of like anxious attachment. I get very frustrated really fast that I
oh, me
realize what I'm
too.
doing, and then I'm
Yeah,
like,
and not
why
being
am
able to
I
stop
like
it.
it? Why am I
Yeah.
thinking like this? And
Yeah.
why can I not do anything about it?
why can't I stop thinking about it? Why
Yes.
can't I just
I just want to
what
turn
is it
off.
like to not think about this one thing
Huh.
for multiple days?
Right. And
Yeah.
part of it might be the BPD, it might be the ADHD, but also another part of it is like
Well, for sure.
us just as individuals and our attachment styles kind of taking over.
Yeah.
Um so and I just forget to be patient with myself, so I'm hoping that us talking about it helps other people realize that it's okay that it
Yeah.
happens if you're
Also, this
working
book is
towards
really
something
good
better.
for avoidant people too. I know like we're very biased in the anxiety
Oh, 100%
aspect, but the person who recommended this book to us, she is very
avoidant,
avoidant,
which is
and she said that this
crazy.
book helped a lot. So no, it doesn't really matter what you are. It helps if you want it to help,
Yeah,
basically. So
I agree.
yeah.
Any concluding thoughts or things you want to say about the book? I guess there's like a lot of things that we could talk about within the book because it's just there's so much shit that's
It does
good
cover a lot
in
of shit.
here. It's so good.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, we can always refer back to the book at any point if you guys want to know more about specific attachment styles or um, if you guys have a situation where you would like advice and like you are just learning about the attachment styles, how to best handle it. We can talk about those diagrams again, how we would handle it. Our scores. Liptic hits
Yeah.
all three. I hit largely two
Yeah.
of them. So if
Yeah.
you want advice or anything else, we do have a Q&A section. Please mark down if you want to be anonymous,
Yes.
and we'll keep that.
Also, if you want the book, it's like $10 on Amazon.
Yes.
Super cheap, and it's really helpful. They have diagrams and like little tests that you can do so that you can know or at
Yeah.
least be self-aware of what you do or what you need.
And you
It
don't
can be very
have to be in a
helpful.
relationship for it.
No, I'm not. And it's been helping a lot.
Yeah.
So
Like,
a lot of it
it's
can
so
help with
nice.
like past relationship stuff too. So
Yes. And
yeah,
like how we
it's really
talked
helpful.
about, what is it? You know how we talked about that list of like 10 things that, like, if anybody, your boundary list, basically?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
this
your,
would be
your
a
cutoff
great way.
points.
Oh, sorry. Wait, I cut off.
No. Your
Oh!
cutoff points.
Oh, yes, cut off
You're
points. I was
fine.
like, I cut off? What?
Fuck.
Ah. But
No, you're good.
yeah, like, I feel like reading this book could really structure a lot of those as well.
Yeah.
In terms of like if you are seeking a partner, like what is the best thing to look for and like what will you not tolerate or
Yeah.
what you shouldn't
Exactly.
tolerate based on your attachment style is probably the best approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
I
okay,
think those are
cool.
good
Yeah.
concluding points.
We do have a topic that we're going to talk about next time because we got it from our Q&A. Do you want to talk about that for a little
Yes.
bit?
Yeah. So our next topic that we were going to talk about is like tactics for stress and maybe other coping mechanisms. If you have other things that you want us to talk about in that regard, let us know.
Yes.
But yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about because someone asked for it, so we gonna do
Yeah,
it.
we try to give you what you guys want. So please tell us what you need/want. It's part of that communication, fucking whatever the hell we talked about earlier. I
Communication or
love,
some shit.
yeah, I love hearing what you guys want, and we want to provide that for you guys.
Yeah, it's more often than not we would love talking about it.
Oh,
So
100%. We can talk for hours, obviously. I mean, we're almost
yeah,
at an hour and 30 minutes just on a book. And I don't
yep,
even think the book, like, in terms of books that you have read in the past and how thick this book is, like, this is only, like, it's less than 300 pages, around, like, 260.
yes, baby.
It's a pretty small book, and we spend a lot of time talking about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you guys want anything or need anything, we're happy to indulge. Last thoughts. Oh, hey, you know something we didn't do that I want to get real quick in?
What's up?
What's your life update?
Oh, um, of
What's new with
let's see.
you?
Tattoo. I started a tattoo sleeve. That's
Yeah!
fun.
Wahoo!
Yeah, it's
Yippee!
looking good. The wagon.
The wagon.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's yeah. I got a family trip coming up soon.
Yeah, you
So I've
do.
been very homesick recently, so
I'm gonna
that'll
be
be fun.
alone.
Yeah, for like 4 or 5 days.
I know. But
No, I mean it's still a lot
it's a
for
long
us.
time for us.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
Or like
no,
you're
it
gone for a
is.
day. I miss you.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
What
What
are
are you
you
up to?
doing? Yeah.
Um, but okay. So
Yeah.
trip for you, tattoo done.
Yeah.
Sister
Hmm.
came into town. We love sister.
Yes. Sister came into town, had fun.
They left kind bars in the fridge or the freezer, I should
Yeah,
say.
like kind ice cream
Oh,
bars.
ice
Have you
cream,
tried one yet?
cream. Yes,
Cream.
cream.
Did you like it?
I loved it. You guys are so silly for picking a flavor I would like because they knew they weren't gonna finish it, and so they wanted to leave something that I would like.
Well, I can't have them,
I
so
know, but I think it's
you
like
should
I
eat
would
them.
prefer them to get whatever they want. I'm not picky at all. Like I do have favorite flavors, obviously. But like I just thought it was really very considerate to think of me as well in that purchase. It was
Yeah,
very cute
always.
when I heard it. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Um
of course.
life
any
updates on my part.
any on yours? Yeah,
I'm
tell me about it.
tired. I'm exhausted.
Yes,
I've had a rough
understandably.
week, but
Hmm.
but I think I the thing that I have issues with is seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I have a light, and that is all I need. It's just a little
Good.
tiny one. Like even if it's like one of those ones that you like put on like a book page or like your book fucking I don't even know what you call
A
it.
nightlight.
Yeah, like one of those things. I'm okay with whatever sort of light if there's just a little bit of it, nightlight.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, or
I
like
have a
dancing
difficult
lights from D and
time.
D.
Oh my god, that would be so that'd be so fucking cool. I usually
Yeah.
have a hard time seeing it, so I think I'm doing better than what I like. It's better than how I usually deal with things, so we're gonna be okay, which is good.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Woohoo! But
Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to cover our life updates in case people actually want to hear about it. um, okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Bye guys. Appreciate y'all.
Bye. Bye.